I just need to okay. And we're back. So I'll just do a quick introduction, but really this is meant to be a very informal session. So we came here looking for polished Hollywood level content. I'm sorry, you might be a bit disappointed, but am I frozen? Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Your video is frozen as well. So yeah, this is Tim speaking, and I'm joined in the room by Taras and by Ushavel, by Ethan, and by Markathian. My browser window is frozen. I don't know, that doesn't sound very good. So you can still hear me? Can you see my screen share?
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
I might have to jump out and jump in because I keep getting a page unresponsive message from my web browser. So I don't know how to make that stop. And I can't, my Jitsi is frozen. So if you're out there in the feed listening on YouTube, then just bear with us. I'll be back in a minute while I just restart my browser. So just I'll see you in a second. Now I've been on mute. Can you hear me now okay?
Yep.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. My browser crashed out.
Your video is still not coming through.
Say again?
Your video is not on.
My video is not on. Yeah, I'm going to turn on my screen share rather. My QGIS is more exciting to look at than my face, I think. But I thought we could just have like an open, informal session where we just take any questions anybody's got in the chat channel. Maybe you want to ask how to do something in QGIS. Or we can also just look at some of the things that are happening in QGIS this recently. If you want to look at some interesting stats I've been gathering, you could also do that. Maybe I could start showing you guys that. I just need to pull up the page here quickly. So I've been working to generate some like telemetry metrics for QGIS. And so I've been coming up with this kind of dashboard. You know that when you open QGIS, like if you start a clean session like this, when it starts, you get this news feed that shows up in the on the side over here. And this news feed is driven by a website that the QGIS community built. And we want to get a sense of how many people are using QGIS and when and from where and what platforms they're on. And it's very difficult as an open source project to know like who your user base is. So a few months ago, we got Alessandro Passotti to make a pull request that will send QGIS has a user agent, which tells, when it asks for anything on a web site, it sends that user agent to say who's asking, like what kind of browser basically it's asking. So it puts in that user agent string. I think the platform was missing, so now I added the platform, whether you're on Windows, Linux, or Mac. And with that, and the fact that everybody opens QGIS gets this message that arrives on this news page when you open QGIS. We were able to build some telemetry in a very specific way that we wanted to do it, that's like privacy respecting, and that's not tracking users in their individual habits and so on. So we basically set up a system that sort of harvests, as the requests come in, it goes to harvest what country each request came in, what QGIS version, what platform they're on, and then just throws away the IP address and any user identifiable information and stores that in aggregate every hour. And then what's allowed us to do is get some metrics like this. I'm going to switch over to the live one just because it's more interesting to see. I just want to kind of yeah, maybe I won't switch over to the live one right now because I just don't really want to make the actual live one public because I don't want to hit our service too hard. But what this does is basically gives us some kind of sense of who's using QGIS and from where. And you can see, unfortunately for you, Ujjwal, India is not showing up very well on the map, I guess, because you have 1 billion plus potential users and maybe only a small fraction of it are actually QGIS users. So this first map I did a per capita user map. So it divides the number of users by the population by the number of users. I forget which way around I did it. And so you can see Greenland is a very high hotspot of activity for QGIS, and Australia, and Portugal, Spain, and most of Europe, I guess, Italy. And then we did like just the number of opens of QGIS in the last 30 days, and you can see quite interesting, like the weekend dip in people. So when they get to work on a Monday, they open QGIS. And in fact, I guess Mondays are quite meaningful because Tuesdays, Wednesdays are like more productive, and Thursdays are more productive days, and then it sort of tailors off again towards the weekend.
Yeah, 500,000 daily actives. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, and there are some caveats with those numbers, which I can also just explain. In fact, I wrote, it's got a bit clipped off here, but basically, because we store the number of times that QGIS is opened in a day rather than being user identifiable. So you could be behind a NAT and there could be 100 people open their QGIS at 8 in the morning, and we'd only probably register one open for that event. But I think it's a pretty good estimate of kind of levels of activities. Yeah, so around almost 500,000 users a day. In the 2 weeks that I've had this thing running, we've had 6.5 million people open, or 6.5 million times that QGIS has been opened, which is a huge number of activity. And then this is just the brute number of opens per country. You can see Brazil by just sheer activity is ranked the highest, I guess, one of the highest. And then France as well, very popular. QGIS is popular in France. And then I'll see if I can zoom in a bit more, but I think, and then we're trying to get some breakdowns by platform, but I'm still working on splitting it out better so that we could just have them bundled into like Windows, Mac, Linux, and other. But you can see by far Windows is the most prevalently used, and then everything else is just really an afterthought. And I think Linux looks like it's more used than Mac, which was a bit of a surprise for me, because I would have, although I guess if we added up all the Mac, well, I'd have to actually add them all up to see properly, but it looks fairly close to And then this is just across the whole year. So as I said, I've only been recording for a couple of weeks, but as we go over time, we'll be able to see any like annual trends in openings of QGIS. And then this one is the breakdown by QGIS version. And again, I probably need to do some lumping because it shows the bug fix versions as well. So like 3.2, 322 is the most used, it looks like at the moment, followed by 324. So more people are on the LTR, I guess, than on the interim releases, which is also interesting validation for the LTR. I think 322 was our last LTR, right?
And I would have thought people would take a little more time to upgrade from 316 to 322, but it's good to see that most people are on 322.
Yeah, but there's still a number of people on 316. Yeah, and there are also more. Like if you add this 32204, that's actually quite a. I guess it's only a third of the people are still on the old LTR, and 2/3 are on the new one, which is quite interesting. And then I was just playing around with this one. This showing like changes in behavior. So it looks at the average openings per country per day, and then looks for countries that are opening QGIS more than average for compared to the like in the last 24 hours. Like suddenly a whole bunch of people are opening QGIS. I don't know what value that has, but I was just thinking of like fun things we could pull out from the numbers. And then I'm building ones for a monthly and yearly number of times that QGIS is open. At the moment, they look the same, but over time, they will discriminate themselves into. Once we go into May, I guess we'll get the second line, node on the chart here. So I thought it'd be nice to share with the world and see, get some sense of our user base. I think as it goes now, if we've done if we're doing almost 5 million opens a day, across the year, that's 118 million or something like that. 118 million opens.
So what's the first number, Tim? The 6.5 million?
First one is in the last year, and then in the last 30 days. And sorry, again, I don't want to show the live one in case people stop grabbing the URL and hammering the site. But and then the last 24 hours. Well, actually, I think it's the last since midnight last night, so this day. But yeah, then we need to make sense of if there are 400, let's say 500,000 opens a day, like what does that mean in terms of the number of users? Is that like a reliable indication that we have a half a million users, I mean, I guess not everybody opens QGIS every day, and then there's also people who leave it open for multiple days at a time. So yeah, I think it's probably not like the full number. I think there's more.
And this counts like if I open QGIS 5 times a day, it will be 5.
It could be 5 if they're more than an hour apart.
Okay.
So we need to account for that as well. But I think when I looked at because this is just running since this morning, like when you look at it a full day, I think it actually even hits maybe goes past this quite a bit. So. Anyway, over time we'll see, and also one of the things we really wanted to get from this is be able to look at longer term trends of our user base and so on, which we'll be able to start to do now. Even if we don't know absolute numbers, we can see relative activity levels, how they increase over time, or hopefully increase over time. If they're decreasing over time, I guess we'd also like to know about that. So that was my first interesting thing to show, and I just want to check and know is the streaming okay. I'll see these. So have you got any interesting things you've been up to, Javal?
Yeah, I got a question, I think in the chat. Ethan's asked a question on actions. So it's got an action on the vector layer that populates a field based off another layer. And layer's custom attribute form has an action as a button. And that works fine from the identify panel, but not on the attribute table form view. the ideas. My first thought would be, does it work on the attribute table from the attribute table view? And there could be something going on with the scope of the action. So if the action has just a feature scope, then it won't work from the attribute. If it needs a layer scope, then it won't work from a single feature. But if you are on the identify panel, that can has a scope, a layer scope, so you can look at the layer as a whole. An attribute table can only look at the feature scope. So depending on the action, that could be the case that it doesn't have the right scope, and that's why it doesn't work. So that would be the one thing to check.
So maybe, I don't know, Ethan, if you want to share your screen, we can even look at your problem together. But I think what Ujjwal is saying is that if you're in the table versus on a single form, right, the scope changes. I don't know if you want to put it up on the screen there. I haven't got any actions set up in this layer, so it's probably not so.
Yeah, I'm trying to open one of my projects and see that.
So when you create a new action, you've got this scope over here.
Yep.
So maybe Ethan, you want to just tell us which scope you're working at?
My understanding is that the layer scope, identify tool can look at the layer scope, but the ones in attribute table can only look at the feature and field scope. So
okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Let's see. Let me share my screen.
Let me stop mine.
Let's see. Let's do this one. Okay. I'm definitely using a lot of actions for a lot of stuff, maybe a little more than originally intended. So I have, let me pull up this. I have 3 monitors, so stuff's floating around. So I've got drag and drop UI and actions. Okay. So I've got one that pulls the address, block, and lot, which is for us parcel information off of a parcels layer. These are for sanitary laterals. And I'll just pop this one open. So it's got the feature and canvas scope, because that's just what the default was. And pretty much it's just doing a quick little expression here.
So I think what's going on is the layer ID variable, that comes from the canvas scope. So the feature scope doesn't have access to the layer. It has only access to the feature itself. And that could be that this is not available when you're using attribute form.
Because I would think that it would be, because if I bring the table open, let's see. If I go selected feature, because what I like to use a lot, because I have the custom form, is I select a feature and I get this nice form, and I have this address, block and lot stuff. I'll go editing for these. Be editing these later, but I got these buttons here that call this action, and I would think that it would have the scope, because this is, a feature should know what layer it's on. So that is a little weird.
Yeah. No, I think the feature does have the layer access. I'm just looking at my oops here. Yeah, so the feature attribute does have access to the layer. So I think that's not the case probably.
Yeah, so
can you go back to the action? Let's see.
The action.
And one way I debug is you can just go print there. So maybe add a print after line 6 and just say print this layer. And when you do the action, it should print on the Python console. So at least we know if it's getting the layer or not. We want to open the Python console in QGIS window.
Grab that. Where'd it go?
Yeah, you caught the layer here. So I think that maybe the way to debug is now just you can have multiple prints and see where it's failing and what stuff it's not working. And you can compare this versus when you triggered it from the canvas versus here. And I think you can probably catch where it's failing instead.
Okay, thank you.
I also saw the layer ID, and maybe this one doesn't have access to another layer. That could be my another guess, versus the canvas one does have, but I'm not sure what that is as well. And that's a pretty nice form you got there, and a lot of actions. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a working on doing some mapping for sanitary and stormwater, and there's a lot of fields. And one thing that really helps is being able to have a custom form with all the tabs, so not looking at just a massive giant table of 50 fields. And then, of course, having drop downs for some of them, and helps that the actions are nice, because I have connection records, but specifically for the laterals. And I have an action that opens up that connection form for me.
Okay.
So that is another super handy, helpful thing.
Yeah, I recently I saw a use case very similar, where it's like a custom form with multiple tabs, and you kind of go through this and click a button that grabs the records from for geocoding records from another layer, and then just populates one tab with all the stuff, and you can edit if you want to. It's really nice to break it down into multiple tabs and have actions help you fill some of the tabs. So really nice workflow.
Is the print statements your normal way for debugging? Have you played with remote debugging your Python in QGIS?
No, I still very basic when it comes to debugging. I always have used print statement, never used a debugger.
It's not too hard to set up a debugger if you want to really be able to poke around with it and even step through. I have the workflow in VS Code where you can do that. I've been learning VS Code the last few months, and I used to do it with PyCharm, and they have some, like, you need the professional version, the paid for version, but you can do it with just free VS Code, and there's a free debugging library, and you can then just attach to your code at any point, and then, like what Ethan was doing now, you could actually just inspect all your variables in real time. It's pretty nice.
Okay, and that's the debugger that comes with VS Code.
Yes. You want to see a quick little demo?
Sure, yeah, let's take a look.
I have in this plugin I'm working on, I actually set up like I set up just a little checkbox. You can like enable the debugger mode. You just need to read the plugin. It adds an icon here, and then if I go to VS Code here, I'm just going to make the you can see. I have just a hook when that plugin, when that debug, I just need to find it. When the debug button gets pressed over here, then it basically just shows a message bar and says, you know, open the start the debugging server in VS. What's actually the client in VS Code. So you what you need to do is make a little launch file like this. It generates it for you, and the only thing I had to do is just set that the remote and local folders are the same path, because normally this is, I think, blank by default, and it's normally intended for using like on a remote machine or something which might have a different file system layout. So it's trying to find out where is the code equivalent like location on the remote machine. In our case, we just set it to the same place. And then when you have that, it will create like a little debug launcher like this. And then it won't let me run it yet because it's trying to attach to the process that starts in the plugin. So I can go over here and start it. And then it says start your client now. And so if I go back to here, now it's running and it's connecting to the client, and I can, in the scope of my plugin, but I could equally be doing it in like something like what we were looking at now in Actions Python. I can then just go and say, okay, I want to set a breakpoint somewhere. So I'll just go to maybe like the main classes here. Just on the open event of this one. So I can just put a debug breakpoint over here, and then QGIS is like waiting just for me to execute something that will go to that breakpoint, and then now I launched the dialog, and then it saw that there's a breakpoint there, and then I can step through my code like one step at a time, step in, step out, all the usual debugger. Try to get back out again. Things, and then actually lost my other window. Let's get back again quickly. This one here, and then if any point I can just put a debug point in. But then what's nice is you can then inspect all of the properties of your code. So let me just go to like let's put one before I close the dialog, for example. So codes now. You know what? I think I just crashed QGIS. Yeah, I just crashed it somehow. So again, I just need to stop the debug line because it will have stopped. Sorry, that's not the right button. Okay, and then I'll just put another breakpoint like after a few lines of code, and we can look at the state of it. So if I run up to that next point there, then I can open the terminal, and then you've got all the like debugging console luxuries here. So I can say self.using, for example. Sorry. No, it's not set up yet. So if I step a few lines after that, and I run the same again, I can see the state of it has changed to none. And you can basically introspect any part of QGIS from in your debug environment.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I think for a large project like the whole plugin building, I think this would save you a lot of headache.
Yeah, for a 3-line one, print is good. So let's see if there's anybody asking anything. We've got map serving, Mr. McKenna, I guess, from the east coast of Canada, saying hi. I thought I would pull up some of the pull request queue and just we could look at some of the. Do you watch the pull request queue and see what kind of things are coming into QGIS all the time?
Sometimes I have those emails enabled, so I do look at those.
What's happening with your ideas about improving the processing framework, by the way?
I think that's kind of on the back burner. I wouldn't heard back from Nal in a few months, so I think we should reselect that and see if people are interested.
Yeah, I think people are interested in. I think probably is interested too. Just been busy with, now it's just a machine working on a lot of stuff. But, can you remind me where it was in your fork of QGIS that you had it as a?
Yeah, Samuel, let me just.
Can find my way to your fork. What's your repo name? Special Thoughts.
I've sent it in the chat. You just get this. It was in my personal records.
Okay. I think it might be nice to take it and just start the QEP because it's probably more discoverable there and people can start discussing it. And just for context, for those watching, this was like Ujval's initiative to get like a refactor a bit or updates and improved features for the processing framework.
Yeah, all the kind of wish list of processing framework that we had, things like loops within your modelers and all the small missing bits that should make it a full featured framework. So just compiled ideas from various folks and some of the bug reports that we had. So I think this is a pretty nice list, and if we had all of this will make it at par with other systems and even better for modeling and building workflows.
Yeah, I think it would be really like a next level sea change of QGIS if we get all these things. There are some really exciting ideas in here. I really like being able to the idea of being able to put sidecar data in your models so that you can have styles or lookup tables, other things that
Okay.
model.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
Hello. Maybe speaking of, maybe you can mute if you're not planning to present here or to talk. Yeah, it's going to be a quite exciting thing, and I think it would be really nice to surface it a bit more because most people are probably not aware of the discussion.
Yeah. Do you think we should go ahead and open a QEP on this?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
And otherwise, yeah, might just stay in the shadow the whole time. And then we could try to get some effort. What were you waiting on from Niall, just to review the list again, or?
Yeah, I think he was going to get an estimate of work for each of these items, and I think that probably is a lot more effort for him to go through it, and that's why it's kind of stuck.
Yeah.
I really like that, similar to the debugger that you just showed, we had a request in this list where you can step through it, all the intermediate outputs in your model. So you can say, hey, show me the output of this step and show me the output of that step. And this is all cached by default, so you can just load it up. That's really, really useful.
And even jump back and restart halfway down the flow or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's super nice if you've got something that takes hours to run and you can like have a way to pick up from the last known grid position in the flow. I'm just looking at your map in the background. Is what CRS is it? Is it the Winkle 2 projection? The one with the rounded.
What is it?
Yeah, I'm looking at your map and just wondering if it's what projection the map is in.
This is the equal Earth projection. So that is my recommended projection for any global maps. So when I teach in the class, I say, if you're making a global map, don't use Mercator or even don't use 4326. Just grab equal Earth. And
what is the
equal Earth Greenwich? Yeah.
This first one?
8857. So this is a new equal area projection. So you have all the continents, relative sizes are preserved, and it's super nice to get an equal. Yes, if you're doing a global grid or just a global visualization. So NASA uses it by default. I think just more people are adopting it.
Okay, it says new, like as in new as in.
Yeah, it does. I think this came out in the last few years.
Okay, I did this map in World Winkle, but I was trying to find a good global projection to use.
Yeah, I think equal Earth would be much better for this. So maybe just try to switch to 8857.
The problem is I need to. Am I still sharing my screen or not? Can you see? Is my screen still being shared?
Yeah, I can see the map.
Yeah, so I was doing some work with this global. It's also a NASA raster in the background. I forget the name of it. I think I have it here, but it's this EO-based 2020. But and I was reprojecting it on the fly, and it was super slow to just do anything. So I reprojected it, but I'd have to go then.
Maybe just turn it off for now and try your reprojection.
Let's see. Let's fail one. That's the one that I generated. I need to go find the source one. You see the messy state of my my filing system here. I think that's the original one that I had. But now that's being projected on the fly.
It should be the source, the projection.
Okay, so it's in 4326. And then if I change this to
8857.
Right?
Yeah, I think it worked.
Okay, so the rounding that you see on your map in the background is the.
No, that does. It is part of the equal Earth. So I think this is probably getting stretched. Or if you turn this off, you'll see that the map, the layers below are rounded. can see the routing. I'm not sure why this one is not.
Let me reproject it out quickly and see what it looks like when I've... Oh yeah, you can see a little bit that it's... I mean, the country boundaries are matching up nicely.
And they, on the Equal Earth website, they have like really nice print quality maps for different themes and different countries, which is completely free. So I really recommend to all the education students who want a nice world map instead of a Mercator map. Just grab that. And Tom Patterson, who maintains the site, he was kind enough to say, in India we need to use the correct India borders, and so he created a special version for India. And I sent it to a bunch of teachers and say, hey, use that for your school maps. So.
That's it. Okay, let's make a new copy of this one here. Some issues with the QGIS on GNOME because it puts dialogues in front of and behind each other when it shouldn't. So it's just called Equal Earth. Is the
Yep.
Do you have any favorite compression settings?
I usually go with just LCW. High, it's fine. And since you have a kind of a rendered map, maybe even JPEG might be better. It'd be okay. I wouldn't do JPEG on any kind of scientific data or raw elevation data or something like that, but this is a rendered data, so.
Okay. Let's put it there. Okay. This is exciting fun because I spent a lot of time playing with different projections, trying to find a nice one, and it's not always like clear which one is the good choice to use.
Yeah, I sent the link to the website. Check out. I think there's a nice story about how they went kind of invented this projection. And I really like this because the other options were like, if you want a global equal area grid, you had to do like mall wide or something different, which was not very appealing to look at. This one actually looks quite nice. So. But I need to run.
Okay, so it was introduced in 2018. What did you say now, Mishra?
I need to head off somewhere now. So.
Okay. Oh, thanks for joining the Hangout.
Yeah, it was fun chatting and it's good catching up. You kind of kindled my interest in VS Code. Now I've been holding off learning VS Code for a while. And all the cool kids nowadays use VS Code, so I need to.
I enabled this AI coding that everyone was complaining about, and it's amazing. It's so fantastic. It finishes my sentences and reads my brain. It's really, like if you're typing the code comments and things like that, it just completes a sentence for you. Like half the time, it's exactly what you want. It's really good. So, all right, enjoy your weekend.
Okay, see you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
I wonder what happened to my new... it's busy rendering still. Let's check if our chat room's got anything to ask. Hi, Etienne. The VS Code, what do they call it? This lens. If you watch the media, there was a big outcry about it because they said, "Oh, it's stealing code out of GitHub or whatever." Honestly, I don't think it's really in any meaningful way stealing code. I think it's just gives you like common hints. So you have to sign up. Sorry, not that one. This one, this GitHub Copilot. You'll see if I start to type, like, let's say even I'm writing some documentation. Just like this. So if I'm writing some documentation here and I want to say something like, QGIS is, it just kind of figures out what I want to say. And it just kind of like gives you sentences, which sometimes are not at all what are interesting, but very often they are quite close to what you're trying to say. Okay. And I'm just making it something like that, and it just finishes my sentences. Unbelievable. And equally for code, if you like, let's open a little piece of code again. So if I am, let's say I'm writing something here. It's got all the normal like kind of like syntax completion. Let's say if I'm writing now, but a good example. But you can see it just like pulling up things here from somewhere, and you just accept it with tab, and then you've like written 2 lines of code. Like I said, like just the notion that it's like stealing people's code out of GitHub doesn't really make sense, because like the things that it's going to give you are so specific, and you can modify them probably. Like you wouldn't just grab 2 lines at random out of somewhere and use them. You can like adapt them to your own code base. But it's really smart at like seeing what you're doing and then helping you finish your sentence. Jeff McKenna, you're not coming online to give us a monthly update on your new addition to the family. So this plugin is something I've been doing for animation, but I will show it in a future open day because it's not finished yet. But because of the plugin, Niall's been adding a lot of very nice features in QGIS. If you look in the pull request queue and you type animation, you'll see that he's added like this support for adding animated images into QGIS. So you can have a new type of point marker, which is moving point. I think that's not the right one to show you. Like this. So you can basically load in this case, he's actually just animating like a normal symbol. So you can basically say that it should be changed, and you give it a function like this, and then it takes the current frame of the animation, which can be passed by like the temporal framework or by plugin like the one I'm busy working on with Niall. And then as QGIS draws, it just renders it with a different position every time. But you can also have these animated markers like this. So you can now add like a TIFF or animated
It's
GIF.
on.
Mm-hmm. Ah.
Hello. I got my co-worker here with me.
Yeah, hi, how's it going?
Shy. She's doing well. like 60 pounds now. Like,
Okay, very pleased with herself.
yeah.
Have you been training her some tricks and things?
You mean like QGIS Easter eggs and things like that?
Like, go and open the cupboard and bring me my pizza, or
Yeah. Bring me my beer. No, that's me. She's teaching me all that.
gorgeous. I have had some dog problems the last few weeks because I've been installed an electric fence to stop the wild boar eating my crops, and my dog, when he
Oh,
touched
no.
the fence, and she took it as a very personal slight, and she won't walk with me around the farm anymore now because she thinks that the farm is like just a bad place to go to. So.
Oh. So it's an electric. Yeah, I actually don't have any fencing here, so yeah,
It's
I need to
like
do something eventually about that.
what you'd use for bears and things, but in our case, it's for wild boars because they come and just destroy your field.
Right. Yeah. Here it's just deer.
Yeah, but they probably also destroy your field, right?
True.
Nice, Shay.
She's actually quite calm for some reason.
Good stage fright.
Yeah. You can hear your voice. Yeah. This is kind of nap time. You know what I mean? Early afternoon.
What's news on the open source front in Canada?
What is new, eh? What? That's a good question. Well, we're still working on the long-term map server 8.0 release that's taking forever.
What's going to be exciting in that?
Well, you know what is new? I tell you, that's a good question. Flat GeoBuff. Buff.
Yeah.
I say it wrong. Flat GeoBuff.
Will be able to publish it, or
yeah, you can do it now through GDAL OGR, and you could argue that's that's a speed issue. GDAL is great, but it's an extra overhead for map speed. So Bjorn, I don't know to say his last name, who's the developer of Flat GeoBuff, has started working on a native driver in map server to read and publish Flat GeoBuff. So
cool.
That could be cool.
Be like a tile feature service that you'll get out for.
Yeah. Like right now, I was playing with it last week. Is you can actually, this is old school. Sorry for the old school mention, but WFS output. You could have a service and then say output format equals flat GeoBuff, and that's kind of old school stuff, but still it's kind of cool. Yeah.
I played with it because I watched this talk the other day at the cloud. There was a cloud GIS, like a couple of days online conference thing.
Oh yeah.
And then I went and tried to save out some layers as flat GeoBuff and as GeoJSON. So I was thinking that flat GeoBuff is supposed to be much smaller, right? Or
yes. And I actually have, in fact, that's what I was working on last hour, and I reported a few days ago, is I've been doing benchmarking. And so just exactly what you said, I'm comparing it to GeoJSON, GeoPackage, GeoJSON, shape, whatever, you have to do shapefile. Sorry to mention shapefile. But shapefile, and then also shapefile through GDAL. There's direct map server shapefile. What else is there? Oh, PostGIS. So comparing that.
And the size or the performance?
No, performance. So map draw speed. And it's interesting. I was even surprised off the record. I guess I'm on the record here on recording, but off the record, on the record, I'm a little disappointed in seeing the PostGIS speed, in map server. It's native, meaning direct, and of course flat
implemented.
Yeah, flat GeoBuff, spatial light, you name it. All these kind of cool new formats beat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But isn't that like
Spatialite, GeoPackage, all that stuff, like all. Yeah. So that's
But
interesting. I
is
think
it like a fair test to do, because your database can be configured in all sorts of ways, right? Whereas
yes.
when it's
Now,
a file, you just like, I mean, okay, your file system can also be slow, I guess, but you have a slow
yes.
test or something. But
I kind of see it as, it's just one layer. I'm doing. I was hoping to avoid everyone asking me like, what have you done to, speed up PostGIS, speed up, all these different indexing for all the different layers.
yeah.
Kind of more look at it as a relative. You know what I mean? Like I just kind of want a general benchmark anyway, but it's not. I wouldn't call it a proper benchmarking system, but. Yeah, I could spend days
comparing the sizes. So if I go here to, I just wrote out while you're chatting, I just wrote out the same file as flat GeoBuff and as GeoJSON.
Yeah.
And okay, so there is quite a significant difference in size, right? It's 12, the same data sets, 12 megabytes in GeoJSON and 3.5 megabytes in flat GeoBuff. The one I tried the other day was exactly the same size, but it was a much smaller data set, which, size difference like that would translate quite big improvement in performance just by how much data you're sending down the wire, right?
That's right. Yeah, I'm going to, this is kind of cool. You'll get breaking news. I'm going to paste in my results. I was going to put it in the map server documentation, but I'm going to paste it here first. So
if there's any good place to release breaking news.
Breaking news.
On the internet is it? Let's see what chat window.
Yeah, hold on. Please hold. So many machines, so many machines here.
While you're doing that, I'm going to pull up my brand new projection layer here.
Okay, here's some. Okay, now I'm ready. Now I'm ready to paste. Finally ready to paste here. So, all right, this isn't on the YouTube chat. This is the Jitsi chat. Sorry. So those are the new timings with unreleased GDAL 343, which is hot news as well. That's going to be released soon. So this is, again, just map draw speeds.
Okay, so that's all for the same scene.
Yes, exactly. It's just one world extent of natural Earth data that's converted to all those formats. Just one extent, one world extent.
So shapefile still king.
In 2022, shapefile is still king.
It's sad to say it, isn't it?
It is.
Why is it better than a flat GeoBuff? I mean,
yeah. So good question. Well, no, because it has to see. You see, our thinking is Bjorn and our thinking is that it's because it's through OGR, right? And so he's going to write. He's writing a native driver now in map server.
Because in the other one you don't have the overhead of going up.
The overhead of going through GDAL OGR, which is great, but it's an extra overhead. I mean, it seems to be an overhead if you see the two shapefile numbers there. Yeah, this is minimal stuff, I guess, but people still care about speed and formats, and we kind of don't talk about it much anymore. This was kind of like 2010 discussion.
Yeah, but Postgres is the one that is native for us. But let's have a look. Maybe we can do a quick test like this. So I've got the flat GeoBuff and I didn't make a shapefile. Let's just keep the level playing field here and export that as a shapefile. You can't kill a good format, or a bad format, whichever the case, whichever way you want to look at it. But maybe they also have some advantage because they got separate files for things. So like you can be doing one
Good
file
point.
operation in the index file, and
That's a good point.
maybe that's their secret sauce. Maybe we should make a new format which has got multiple little pieces spread, or like the flat GeoBuff ensemble format, which has the index in one file. And
Yeah.
this
While
is
you're doing that, my worry is that, like, my worry about those numbers that you see in the chat there is that at some point, I mean, you can't go as lower than, I mean, that's really fast, the numbers you see there. And it's going to take time to open, close, read, all those. So I'm a little worried about all the work going into flat GeoBuff native, and it maybe will improve a tiny bit, but yeah, eventually, I mean, there's time for everything. So anyway.
Okay, so here we can do a little test in QGIS. I've got, I'm making a blank project quickly. Let's just go and add a couple of layers in. And my shape file, my flat GeoBuff file, my GeoJSON file. Woo. And then I'll just save it as a project and then load the project again and see what happens. Okay, so this thing should clear its brain now. How do we clear its brain? You can clear it here, you can't do it. Yeah, anyway, okay, we'll start it. We'll load the project and see what happens. Reading map layers.
Mm-hmm.
Can we see which one each one was? So this one, I just can't see which. I need to give them proper names. Hang on a second. Calling them all the same thing didn't help at all.
Yeah.
That one is shapefile. This one is GeoBuff. That one must be our JSON one.
Cool.
Save the project.
Yeah. This could be popular, could be reusable.
Reading map layers. Okay, so JSON is the slow poke. Ah, look there, flat GeoBuff 1.
There you go. There you go. Pretty impressive. Huh.
By 4 milliseconds. So it took your 3 millisecond from your test and added.
Apparently. Wow. Huh.
Huge difference between JSON and shape, isn't it? So that's like almost half a second too.
Huh. Okay, so I'm just thinking, and well, you would know this answer. So obviously, QGIS doesn't read, like, shapefile access in QGIS is through OGR.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So that explains these numbers then. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think this is also from OGR. Yeah, they all are from OGR.
All OGR. So that makes sense. The numbers, your numbers make sense then. Yeah. Yeah.
You're comparing them all on the same platform, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's a good test. Now, you're not running it 1,000 times or something, and that's what I was worried about. People asking me, like, So I like your benchmark here. I mean, it passes my validity test, but maybe not others. Maybe not other hardcore benchmarking people.
We can add the layers in 1,000 times.
Exactly. Yeah, that's interesting. Huh.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yes, flat GeoBuff, the top of the heap for you in terms of like exciting file formats for the next 5 years.
what is the other one? Why is my mind blank? There's two, right? There's the cloud. Yeah, of course this is on record.
What?
Chris Holmes is pushing.
Cloud optimized GeoTIFF?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I think those two formats are a huge buzz right now.
Yeah. But so flat GeoBuff, you can treat it like a cog, right? You can pull out a piece of it with a HTTP request and not have to like sequentially read the whole file.
Yes, I think
so. Maybe your test, you need a huge data set and the random access pulling data out of it rather than just drawing the whole thing, because you don't really gain much by sequentially reading the whole file for your test, right?
Ooh, interesting. Good point. Yeah, so I need some sort of a filter, right? Like we call it filter. Yeah, or query or
something that exercises the spatial index a bit.
Interesting. Good point. Yeah, no, you're right, and I'll add that to my little mini benchmark.
Let's do something like I wonder if we can see on mine. I don't know how much it helps when you're doing locally, but let's see if these all got Africa or something marking them.
Is that what they? I think that in the documentation it's called HTTP range request.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the secret sauce, right, of making everything fast on the cloud and not putting down data you don't need.
Right.
Cool. I'll have a play with maybe like doing a little set like that and of the original data set and see if it makes a difference. Because in theory, if you're doing it over a file system, I don't know if you'll get much benefit. But if you're doing it over an internet request, you should see a lot of benefit.
Why don't we plan, you and I, a mini session for the next? Let's do it.
Formats of the future.
Well, you know, this is the whole stack. We're talking. Yeah, we can talk maps. Or it'd be a good test. I think it'd be interesting to people. Like,
yeah. I am. So map server, you're still talking WFS, but are you doing any like tile serving kind of work on version 8, or does it already have it? I haven't been keeping up.
Well, we have 8 will have OGC API, right?
Okay.
And it'll be ongoing, but you know there are different parts of that standard.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, map, features, etc. But for now, I think just the OGC API common, I think. But anyway, so yes and no.
Do you remember some dude once wrote a map server? I forget who did it, a map server renderer in QGIS. Wonder what I
remember.
Those the old days, eh? You could get your map file straight out of your QGIS project. I don't think there even a plugin or anything left anymore that will generate your map file. Let's have a look.
Well, there's the most recent one. I want to say it's RT, something RT or some. I want to say the letter RT. I don't know, but I think it was developed by a group in Italy, and it was funded, of course. And then then QGIS 3 came along, and so.
QGIS map file. Here's one. Imports a map file into QGIS.
Okay, show me the. Isn't at the bottom? It has the tracker. But I don't think that's it.
This is for importing.
This looks new to me. You just found. Okay, map
19.
Interesting.
It's got no issues.
QGIS map. Okay. No, there's what is it called? It's like RT export or RT.
I think a GeoCat bridge.
Well, yes,
can do
yeah,
it as well. But the problem with all these things is always like never can do a one-to-one translation, right? Same with SLDs and things. You can never really get
right. Yeah.
Has anybody been making like any GUIs independently of like standalone GUIs for doing those kind of things, or is it still writing text files the or
Yeah,
generating text file with Python or something? I guess probably like.
Yeah, that there's a big, obviously, lots of movement in the Python side, and then Seth Gervin has something called Mappy file, which is sort of a map file validator in Python. Can do a lot, but when it comes down to it, Tim, I'm looking at the camera. I have to look in the mirror, and truly, honestly, it still comes down to editing files. Now, the OGC API stuff is kind of nice because it gives you, as you know, we've seen some of the front end stuff through other projects like PyGeo API, and you've probably seen a demo of the OGC API front end stuff. So that's kind of nice because it comes with templates, HTML templates, something that Map Server core hasn't done ever is include sort of a front end, visual.
Yeah.
So if you want my answer, my hope is the OGC API helps us kind of push Map Server in that direction. Yeah.
I almost think that Frank Warmerdam once had a thing. What is it called? FC Tools or something that actually made like a Map Server based. Maybe it wasn't him. I'm thinking somebody else. It was like a GIS with Map Server as the drawing engine, and you had like layers that you could point and click and open and style and things. But under the hood, it was writing basically everything.
Frank? You mean that was FW Tools?
Tools. Didn't that have it, or was it something else?
No, you're. I think you're getting mixed up. But that was Frank's own kind of thing. Yeah, it was nothing to do with the Map Server engine.
There was something I saw once somewhere. Somebody basically, I think it might have been a bit like proprietarized. Is that a word? Like kind of thing that some company.
So Tim, can you click on the chat link that I just because I want to show if other people may eventually watch this. So I just want to show what is regarded as the most recent quote reliable Map Server export tool in QGIS, and it's still talked about.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you'll know the name. Is it not? Sorry if I say it wrong. Finalia, an Italian company. And so you can see the dates.
It's been a while since I worked on it. Yeah,
and so if it still comes up as being the most reliable one, though.
The map server file format isn't really broken for many years, right? I mean, it's not like. No,
you're right. But 8, we break a lot of things in 8, unfortunately. Yeah. Yeah, we do. We got rid of a lot of deprecated kind of tricks that I've used for 20 years. Unfortunately, I didn't fully agree with that, but eventually you have to drop the code.
Yeah, progress is inevitable.
Yeah, so a lot of map files break, and if you can think of, for our little mini session next month, I'll show some of this code. But
okay.
Yeah, it'd be cool just to see, what's deprecated. It'll be like a QGIS Map Server benchmarking, future release discussion. I don't know, with demos and.
Just make it like an informal hangout and just show what you've got here.
And coming out. Maybe by talking about Map Server with QGIS, it kind of spurs or spawns. Like
interest,
maybe there's someone making this that we don't know, the exporter that's taken. I've always wanted to do is taken this code, which honestly in circles, in quiet circles, people still run 2.18 for this. I even remember the version 2.18 something. QGIS has this working perfectly. And then if I turn to my left, I have a machine running 2.18
okay,
just for this exporter.
Okay.
So that's what people do. There's your answer. People have an old QGIS running that. Yeah, so that's not good.
But I mean, if you like a production house using map server, you've probably build up like a library of standard like layer descriptors, and you just have to assemble them. Right? You didn't really.
Yeah.
The advantage of this tool is really when you're coming up with a new layer and you want to shortcut the cartography a little bit.
You know, the only time that ever I crave this tool, because as you can imagine, and somewhere around map server 6 or late 5 was includes. Have you seen that, Tim? You know, where you kind of have snippets. That's kind of old news. It was 5.10 or something. But once in a while, someone or some client or someone says, "Oh, I've got soil data and I've got bedrock data with 1,000 classes. Here you go, Jeff. Can you put it in map server?" You know, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" So then I fire up a virtual machine with 218.
Okay.
Because you can't do it. You just can't do that by hand. It just cannot be done. All classified.
Yeah, and keep your head straight while you're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love map files, but it's to a point where you can't do that anymore. You can't take data like real world data like that and classify it fast. So there is a need for this still. I still think that a new map server exporter, like a valid one for map server 8 and it's always been on my radar as well. I'm as good as you to copy paste or fork a repository and copy paste. And although, as you know, I'm more still on the PHP kind of side and of Python. Although I do a lot of Python stuff too, but I'd gear myself towards doing an exporter and that. And then I struggle with that. I'm like, wait a second. So if it does that, how would that ever run inside QGIS core with through a plugin?
Well, what you want to do is really just actually write a standalone thing that can take a QGIS XML file and convert it.
Now you're talking.
Then you don't even have to have any overhead of having QGIS in the mix. You can just do the mappings. But the problem is like QGIS's style, the way that it articulates style definitions is not like a well-described and well-structured like system. So it wasn't like we went off and said, okay, we're going to write this like schema for how style should be defined.
Yeah.
Or like, I guess there is some structure to it, but it's not like you can't find any documentation which says, look in the XML file, look for this tag, and then, underneath this tag. And so you're going to be like reverse engineering the format as you go. And
it's the same comment on the map server side. Like we do have an XML schema, you supposedly can, read from a XML like styled schema and bring, but is it maintained? Same struggle, but you're right. That's the way it should be done. I also, just speaking honestly off the record, on the record, as you know, like I mentioned it last QHack meeting, was that, like, I'm the maintainer of a very old, but yet very popular MS4W, and I've struggled with that. Like having a QGIS export in that, even and you could say Osteo4W too, that kind of thing. Like, but then you don't want to fork anything and upset. Here I am talking to the whole community, QGIS community, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh boy, do I have its own? Am I running QGIS inside MS4W/Osteo4W? Like it gets really hairy that way, and I that's kind of why I've been frozen on that for a long time. Like, I don't want to upset, because I'm so close. I'm close enough to know I see the plugin discussion with QGIS, and and then someone comes in with a proprietary, brings up discussion and questions, so I have struggled with a MS4W plugin, like a map server for Windows, export to map file from QGIS, and anyway. So I'm just.
I don't think they would have like. Which part do you think would have resistance, or
well,
because it's platform specific, or
it's very platform specific. Yes, there's one issue. One issue is the platform, right? So I mean, I kind of make, my bread and butter is going into, places that other developers don't. So I'm in the Windows space, and I really want to stay there for a map server, and I would love to fill the map file export with QGIS kind of space there in Windows, and then so that brings it up. That causes that issue, is that it's only on Windows. MS4W is great, but it's only Windows. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just being open. I've thought about it a long time, done nothing on it.
Is the map server? I guess it sounds like it's still like a very energized community then of people.
Oh, it is. It is an energized community. Yet sometimes quiet. I don't know. Maybe that's the age of it. I don't know, but boy, there is some vibrant. It is vibrant, especially as you know, in FOSS4G or anything open. If you make a mistake, or
somebody will be there to tell you.
boom. People are watching. There's a lot of organizations that now rely on it, and So
I know that you power a lot of the big infrastructure of the web, where people just need production grade maps churned out with no question about whether it's going to render it out or not.
And I want to mention, and definitely next month when we do this, is when you talk about benchmarking, why we got off that on the website for a long time was then caching came along, map cache or GeoWeb cache. On a map server side, under the map server umbrella, it's map cache. It's its own project, very fast, Apache module.
Okay.
Yes, very, very good.
I always use map proxy, or actually I did use map cache, but there's a Python one, right?
Not Python.
No. Okay. No, then I'm thinking of something else.
No.
I think of tile cache. I can't remember what it was called. It's the guy who went to work for Google and he flew his drone into a hawk. His video of his drone getting attacked by a hawk went viral, and he had gajillions of views on it. But I think he wrote I can't remember the name of it now. But I haven't used Mapcache.
Yeah. So that really and I kind of wanted to keep doing benchmarking, exercises back then, but then eventually caching, and then there was argument, Jeff, it's no longer valid.
Academic. How fast is your cache rather than how fast is your map server?
Yeah. How fast is your cache? Yeah, your tiles, and and I guess that. Yeah. So, but I don't know, any kind of mention of any sort of, just like this, like any sort of format. People still care about formats. They care about speed draw, sharing, or whatever, whether it's QGIS or map server, GeoServer, or whatever we're talking about, and people care.
QGIS was never the fastest, or anywhere near the fastest map server, but what it was is the fastest to do your cartography, because
that's right.
If you want to make a complex looking map, I can't think of a faster way to do it than QGIS.
Yeah. Oh, things have changed. Like, remember, I kind of ran that benchmarking, and the QGIS server was there every year, and they were great, because it was early days for QGIS server, and maybe the numbers weren't excellent, but boy, has things ever, like, for me, I'm watching always closely, as you can imagine. I enjoy watching a project like that grow, and I see and I hear great things constantly about QGIS server. So
Yeah.
you're right. It's a good solution for a lot of people that have all their data styled in QGIS, and they want to, now there are issues as well, because I mean, it came up on the QGIS, one of the lists recently as well, like, and I was following it like, oh, I'm on Windows, I have Apache. I saw that.
How do I make it quick?
Yeah. Do you know what okay, this is off the record, on the record. The funny thing is, you think I'm not related to QGIS, or I'm just not but the funny thing is, in that thread, someone pointed to Osteo4W's Apache, which is a copy of Guess Who's Apache. So, and someone said, and one of the core developers of QGIS, I forget who it was, or QGIS server, said, yes, use that Apache conf. It's excellent. GDAL, that's me. So I never get direct credit for QGIS, but there you go. So there you go.
Made your contribution.
Yeah, there's an indirect contribution. So there you go. Yeah. So I think QGIS server. Oh yeah, times have changed. It's 2022. If we did a benchmarking, yeah, I mean, that's a huge factor. It's just so user friendly. Now, my point was that there are some deployment difficulties as well, but that's
with Docker much less so. But if you Docker world, yeah, because you can spin one up pretty quickly with that. But yeah, if you have to sit editing Apache files, it's not so fun. But for me, the biggest issue is that I always need to use it with map proxy, which is my preferred proxy, but because it doesn't have meta tiling and meta buffering, which I think you've got built into map. Do you have a map proxy? No, it's in map server. I think you have but like you need to be able to basically deal with the fact that tiles are being rendered out from your map, and the labels mustn't move around and get cut off and land up twice on the same adjacent tiles and things like that.
Right.
And it would be great to have that as a solution out the box, because a lot of people don't realize that it's something they need until they start rendering their map, and then they're trying to figure out how to make the cartography work.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Listen, Jeff, I got to go.
Yeah.
It's been great to hang out, and anybody who the three. Let's see how many people are in the audience. Maybe we've got
I'm embarrassed to look.
few hardcore. Yeah, we've got 3 people.
One of them is me. I think I'm open. It's open in another tab, so count one as me.
There's Jason Jorgensen. He's asking, is Joe Walsh still working on Map Server?
Not that I'm aware now. Not that I'm aware of. No, you mean like no?
She's from what's the company in the UK?
Yes. She's, as I understand it, they're listed as a service provider, but and I think they support Map Server, but they're not. There's Yeah. I don't want to offend anyone. That's why I got quiet there. I just, they're not core contributors per se, but they're a valid service provider, definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the hangout, and Shia, right?
Shai, S-H-A-I, Shai. Yeah.
Bringing Shai along.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I'd be really interested to continue this as an official 1 hour next month if you are.
Sure.
Yeah. Why not?
Always up for a bit of QGIS or GIS nerdery.
Yeah. This is sort of a bench. It'll be a benchmarking. We'll talk formats.
So why don't we make a little data set with a whole bunch of problems, and then we'll see who can render it fastest.
Yeah.
Your OGR times and our OGR times shouldn't really differ much, except for the layer of rendering that happens on the top of it, right? So
yeah.
Actually, if we're using the non-native providers, then it's probably actually a good reflection of whose engine renders the fastest, right?
Yep.
So,
yeah.
or who's got the fastest SSD.
Yeah, true. True. Yeah. No, that's great with a specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think that'll get some views, or maybe not live views, but yeah, it'd be great to have that on record just to show the software teams working together and comparing. I think that's great.
Yeah, and maybe we can just dump out every supported format and play and see. I could I don't know how many on the list, but I could make like the world map with 20 formats and do the same thing what I did with 3 now.
Oh, I could do that. I don't mind it at all. I have, as you saw, like 8 or 10, and yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be fun. I have a lot running locally, even databases. I've got Oracle. I've got, that would be cool. I'd like to do that test, PostGIS versus Oracle versus,
Oh, that would be good. I don't have Oracle set up. I don't have the patience or.
Well, you have a month. No, it would take you a month.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I set it up, it took me like days. Not.
Yeah. Hey, amen.
Like Postgres does, but.
Yeah. All right. We'll save it for next.
Have a good weekend, and thanks to all of those who stuck around on the channel. Have a good weekend all. Cheers.
Thank you all.